guys, I'm Pixel Dan, and this is a review of the Masters of the Universe Classics Keldor figure. The man who eventually came to be known as Skeletor, and a character that was one of the coolest figures in the 2002 toy line, has made his way into the Classics line as June's quarterly figure. Keldor comes in the standard white mailer box depicting his name on the front. Inside that mailer, Keldor is carded on the familiar Masters Classics blister card. The back features a glimpse at other figures in the lineup, as well as a bio complete with a shot of Keldor from the MYP cartoon series. Now, since Keldor is basically just Skeletor before he was Skeletor, it's easy to assume that this figure reuses most of the parts from the already existing Skeletor action figure. And that assumption is definitely not a wrong one. But as you'll soon see, Mattel really did a great job of making this figure much more than just a Skeletor with a new head. But we'll start there. This figure features an all-new head sculpt that amazingly captures the look of Keldor from the MYP cartoon, right down to that menacing evil grin. Keldor's body actually uses the standard buck seen on figures such as Triclops, so he does not have the finned arms or the clawed feet that we've seen on Skeletor. He has a much more human look in this form. But speaking of his feet, he is actually wearing shoes, a brand new sculpt created for this figure. Now, the armor and loincloth pieces are actually just reused from Skeletor, but the pieces are actually painted just a bit differently. The crossbones are silver, the purple is a little deeper, and each individual little rivet is painted and really pops out. These small differences actually give Keldor a bit more detail than previous figures such as Skeletor. I mean, even Keldor's fingernails are painted black. Little touches like this really help make this figure feel like something new despite the reuse of parts. Okay guys, so looking at Keldor here, he's really not much different than we've already seen with the Masters line. We've got the same standard buck used, and aside from the new feet here, everything is pretty much what we've already come to expect. The articulation works all the same, and I might add that the joints on mine are very nice and tight, which is a nice surprise. Now the head does feature a longer hair, and as we've seen on some of the past figures with long hair, it does hinder the movement a little bit. It's not too bad though. You can actually turn his head quite a bit to the left and the right, and the hair easily just kind of folds over the shoulders and the cape on the back. So it's really not too bad. Now, moving it up and down, it's a little bit hindered, but it's not too bad. You're not going to get him to look up too high because of the hair, of course, hitting his back, but I mean, it's not really a necessity anyway, so I'd say that overall this is fairly good. This is very well done. The hair doesn't get in the way too much. Now, one thing I do really want to point out, I know I talked about it already once, but let's look at Skeletor and Keldor side by side. You can really see the difference here in the colors used. First of all, the skin tone is much more vibrant on Keldor. Skeletor's is much more dull, while you've got the really bright blue skin on Keldor. Now, I don't know if this has something to do with the more evil characteristics of Skeletor after the whole Demo Man merger, or what what actually the reasoning was for choosing the different skin tone. But as you can see, it is much brighter on Keldor. And then, of course, looking at the armor, there's a lot more details on Keldor's. Not only is the purple more vibrant, but all the rivets in the costume are painted. These crossbones on the front are silver as opposed to the purple. I mean, overall, his outfit just looks a little more detailed than Skeletor's. It's kind of interesting to see. And then we've got the cape. Now, the cape is not much different than any of the capes we've already seen. It's the same kind of material. It's not super soft, but it's not super hard. I mean, it doesn't get in the way too much. And as I did show, you've got the longer hanging down part on the back, so you can actually still access the sword part on the back of Keldor's costume. Now, one cool thing about this, which I know you all want to see, you can take Keldor's cape right off once you remove his head, and we can bring Skeletor in, and we can finally have ourselves a Cape Skeletor. Very, very cool. The colors are slightly different, but Skeletor does indeed look pretty cool with that cape on. And I'm sure that there are many who will be displaying their Skeletor this way. And just for anyone who's wanting to see, here's Skeletor wearing Keldor's armor. Now, aside from the cape, Keldor also includes the small vial of acid that ended up being his own undoing. The vial is translucent with a green tint and fits perfectly in Keldor's hands. Keldor also includes a purple power sword that can be split into the two halves. The sword is just like the previous half swords we've already seen in this line, but it's worth noting that this is the only time we'll see fitting halves that are both purple in color. And while Mattel has explained their reason for giving Keldor the classic style power sword as his double swords, it's safe to say that many would love to see Keldor holding the dual swords from the 2000X line. I myself was also curious, so here he is. Alright guys, it's comparison time. Here's Keldor alongside the only other figure made of this character. This figure was a San Diego Comic-Con exclusive in the 2002 toy line, and to this day is still my absolute favorite figure from that line. So this new figure had a lot of living up to do. And while he is very awesome, I think I personally still have to give the nod to the 2002 version. Although Keldor is a quarterly figure that reuses a lot of parts, there is still a lot that makes this figure really feel like something new and special. The addition of the acid vial and cape are both fantastic, and the detailed paint job on the armor is just an added bonus. Keldor will be available on MattyCollector.com on June 15th. He is not part of the 2010 subscription, so many will surely be attempting to buy him, meaning he will certainly be a quick sellout. Until next time.